It's good to welcome back Mark Lizotte, Diesel, to Noise11.com. Cheers, it's like Groundhog Day, isn't it, Mark? I mean, we're only talking about a new album that was all to do with lockdown just recently, and here we are talking about another one.
I hope my plant's grown bigger since then.
Well, what we are talking about today is Alone with Blues, the second album you've done in lockdown, and this one truly solo, isn't it? You're playing every instrument on the record. So it's not just about replicating the songs, is it? You have gone back and matched a lot of those original sounds. Is that by researching what sort of instruments were on the original records?
I'm lucky I have, not really, no. I guess, my ear is a very handy thing for me. I'm lucky I have an ear that can sort of hear tones, but I also have, I've got enough guitar kind of ecosystem, enough of a guitar ecosystem, I should say, to kind of go, I think that's the right color for that, and then grab that. And it was a pretty limited palette. And I was really specifically kind of going for a certain genre, like, the Jimmy Reed, Otis Rush, Magic Sam, they all have a sort of a similar sound.
I love the way it's been curated too, because you haven't gone for blues greatest hits in doing this. Cannonball Adderley work song, Sam Cooke, Lost and Looking. Tracks like that aren't your obvious go-to songs when you're doing a blues album, I would imagine.
I thought I'd, throw a few things like Hoochie Coochie, which is a pretty well covered song. So I thought surely that'll satisfy anyone who's casting their eye and go, I don't know any of these titles. Oh, I know that one. But that's a song that I literally have been covering since I got it from my dad's record collection. I think the one of the versions I kind of knew was actually even of an instrumental version by Jimmy Smith, the organist. The album was called Hoochie Coochie Man, actually. So, that seemed like something that I had to do because I found it hard to believe that I hadn't recorded it somewhere, somehow over the years, but I hadn't. So I thought, okay, that's going on the album. But work song, I grew up listening to Cannonball Adderley's version. My dad had that, a Cannonball Adderley record. And then, of course, people like Les McCain, vocal versions of that song. It's kind of, in my books, it's like a standard, more of like a jazz blues standard. But I've always loved the whole, just the melody. It's really, really infectious. And once I'd realized that I could do it as a double bass song, I thought, great, because, I didn't want to just have Lost and Looking as a double bass and vocal. I wanted at least something else on the record that was double bass and vocal as well, and just exclusively those two instruments. So I thought, great, I've got kind of two little bookends now.
So with the blues, what I love about the lyrics, they get straight to the point. There's no pussyfooting around with a blues lyric. I can't quit you, baby, but I've got to put you down for a while. Straight into it.
Yeah. I love lyrics like that. It's just they're so direct and there's bravado, but there's also incredible vulnerability, I think, shown. There's just a lot of human condition. But I just really wanted to kind of show that, and I guess I've always been a bit of a flag waver for this whole idea that blues is, a lot of people, when they think of blues, they think of, oh, it's sad, it's going to be a downer. I don't know why. But I do know why, but I don't understand it because to me it's such a happy, exuberant, a song like Boogie Chillin', for instance, the John Lee Hooker thing. When I first heard that, it was in Memphis and we were making our first record and I hadn't heard that record before somehow. And the producer laid it on me and I just thought, this is it's like a perfect pop record. It's just that the most kind of, it just makes you want to, jump out of your skin. It's celebrating everything about, rebelling, rock and roll, music, just everything in general. But it's got this purity about it, and it's a pure like up record. So how anyone can sort of see that as a downer, like it's totally the opposite.
Mm. What about Six Steel Strings, the track that you're involved with Ross Wilson on that track, a song that has been hidden for 3 decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it begs me to ask, what else is in that treasure chest you don't know about?
Well, in the Ross Wilson one, I don't know. I can't remember. We probably did write a few other things. I'll have to ask him. Um, you know, I just remember him coming over my house, and I think I'd just become like a solo artist officially. I'd left the band and I was embarking on a bunch of co-writing with people. And that was kind of my first sort of my foray into like going and writing with people. And Ross came over my little house in Paddington, and my studio, consisted of like a 4-track on an ironing board with a couple of crappy computer speakers and a few bips and bobs, and just we made this really crude demo. But the way he approached it was like, okay, they're like, tell me, what's your story? Where'd you come from? Let's write a song that's kind of about your life kind of thing. And I was like, at first I was like, what? How are we going to do that? Like, really? You really want to do that? And then I thought, okay, let's go with it. And, it ended up being this kind of like almost Johnny Be Good kind of, and it's a bit like that Stone Free by Jimi Hendrix kind of, whatever, sort of like tells a story of someone obsessed with the guitar kind of, it's a loose kind of story of my life, but born in the backwoods in a house made of blues. Well, yeah, when I told them I was born in Fall River, Massachusetts, and lived in Rhode Island and Little Compton, this tiny little town that, which it's a blip of a town. It doesn't have any. To this day, it still doesn't have McDonald's or anything like that. It's incredible how it's remained that way. But it's like a Norman Rockwell painting, just like little houses spread apart, potato fields, a beach, that comes down off the rocks. And across the water is Newport, where all the hoity-toity, wealthy people live. But where we were was like Portuguese families with like 14 kids and stuff like that, and potato fields. So, it would have been a cheaper place for my mum and dad to kind of raise a family, I guess, when they moved out of New Bedford, Massachusetts, and crossed into Rhode Island. We were talking like states that are like the size of suburbs, like the size of Melbourne suburbs. That sort of set him off, and was like, that was all he needed. It was like, okay, and he penned it like really quickly, when we came up with these changes, and then we made a demo of it, a proper demo with the band that I had assembled at the time, which is kind of like a catalyst to kind of Hep Fidelity and all that. But then when I started writing more of Hep Fidelity, it just didn't kind of fit in. It was too kind of, like old school R&B or whatever. And it just kind of was like, oh, what a great song. And I remember Nathan Cavalieri a couple of years later was making one of his records, and it got kind of like thrown into that mix for a bit, but I'm not sure it made it into that record. It just kind of hovered around. And then it went into that storage tub until Ross moved house. And it was just the most timely thing that he was moving and looking and saw that. And I was literally, when I saw that email, I was set up and I was doing something that day. I can't remember which song I was working on, but that came through and I quickly downloaded it and played it. And I just could not believe the timing that and I emailed back and said, I'm actually making a blues record right now and I'm going to put this on the record. And he probably thought, yeah, whatever. Sure you are. So, but it was a real like moment of serendipity.
We've talked about, the whole world is, very, very weird and unpredictable at the moment with live touring. But you have done the first half of the Red Hot Summer shows, which is the re-injected 30th anniversary show. So how is that set list constructed to represent that first Johnny Diesel and the Injectors album?
It's strangely, I haven't really strayed super, well, I have, of course, I've got different ways of playing songs on every one of my records, and there's different formats that I do, but when folding Bernie back into it, it just sort of gives it this flavor straight away. And it's funny, like people come up and go, oh man, it's so good to hear. And I'm like, actually, we don't really play it that much different. Well, we do, but not in a huge way, but just having that sound of the saxophone and my guitar together, that's what clicks with people. And I get it. And that's a beautiful thing. So, playing them like verbatim off that record, I can't imagine ever doing that. And I'm not sure I ever did, so, but just that chemistry, that sound of the sax and my guitar together, it's a thing that Bernie and I do. And whether, it's been a year, 2 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. It's always there, it seems. And Bernie and I luckily have gotten to play quite a bit through the years, make blues. We made Project Blues together with my family, my brothers and my dad. They all joined together and made this amazing horn section. So yeah, the sax has always been a kind of a thing that's never that far from my sound, so it was just great to have him. He's also just, so much fun to have on stage. It's just kind of so loose. And my band, that I've been with now for 20 odd, I think it's 21 years coming up. They just love him, they just really love having him on the stage. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, we kind of missed the exact 30th anniversary, didn't we? So this is around 32 years. Gee, coming up June 2022, it'll be 33 and a third years since that first record. So maybe we should be planning that.
Next year, 2022, is 30 years since Hep Fidelity. So that's like, yeah, I might do some shows around that. It's a record that I haven't played in its entirety, I think, ever, to be honest. So yeah, no, I mean, look, it was definitely a good kickoff to a solo career for me, and opened a lot of doors. And I don't think it's a perfect record by any stretch, but I remember coming back and sitting in Michael's backyard, Michael Gudinski's, being like, he was a catalyst for kind of bringing the whole thing finally to finish, because it was a bit of a scattered start, and 2 cities, 2 producers and everything, but it all came together, and everyone's efforts really came together in a great way in the end. And I wasn't sure what I had, and I was sitting there listening to it, and I thought, wow, it actually makes sense. It sounds like a record. It was surprising even to me, because even a song like Tip of My Tongue, for instance, that came in at the 11th hour. The record was officially kind of like pretty much done. We were just doing odds and bits and pieces, and could feel the pressure was starting to ease off a bit, and we were spending a bit more time at lunch and things like that. And then, I got sent off to write with Danny Tate, because we had a bit of a couple of days off, and then it was like, right, we got one. Looks like we're recording one more song for this record, So there you go.
So Alone with Blues, the 2021 album, and another half of Red Hot Summer shows still to come. So at least there is something on the 2021 calendar.
Yeah, look, I'm actually trying to do a New South Wales. Ironically, we thought, you know what, it's probably a good thing just to do some New South Wales regional theatres, because there's so many great theatres out there to be done. I have done a bit of theatre touring before, and we'll kick it off that way. And so yeah, I've got, and now most of them are like technically sold out, because the COVID caps have kind of brought the cap down, and I still had some leeway to keep selling, but we've had to kind of cap them at these numbers. So it's all looking good on paper, but I just need to be let out of the iron ring around Sydney to be able to do them. So, fingers crossed. But yeah, that's what's happening through August and September. And then I pick up on the Red Hot Summers again, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, I mean, being out with Chris Chaney and Vicar and Linda, Hoodoo Gurus, Jimmy, of course, and John Stevens. I mean, these are all people that I've known for a long time. Chris, I've only just got to know in the last year or so. What a beautiful guy he is. But it's like family, and so, yeah, it's a nice tour to be on, because it's just, yeah, it feels like family.
With Uncle Dwayne heading the charge.
I tell you what, he has impressed, him and his team. I know it's not just him, but like in the most challenging of times, the way he has navigated and done just an incredible job of getting us all across into different states and safely, and no one's, we haven't spread anything or done anything on towards to anybody. And we've managed to play to thousands of people and make a lot of people happy, and done, to the code and all that, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, hats off to him. It's a lot of people just go too hard, but no, Dwayne, it shows you that country mentality of like, we'll sort this out. Good on him.
That's for sure. Well, Mark, good to see you, and look forward to more live dates in the not too distant future.
Always a pleasure. Cheers, Paul.